Okay. Whatever. Let's see the tags. No warnings, as it seems. Let's see this one. All right. Staircase to Hell. Hizitsune. Summary. To reach accomplishment, one must push others aside. The blood of the weak will bring about an individual's own desire and truth. Or, Eratus kills someone and climbs the staircase of gory hallucinations. That's awesome. I am not weak, the shaken soldier said at his knees, looking at his raised palms intently with a petrified stare, the thick protective gloves that concealed his calloused hands, guarding his long past sensitive skin from the gore that soaked them, a barrier designed to keep away the stains of sin, the clinging remnants of carnage, a result of a soldier's will in the rising mist of war. Running his hands down his concealed face, as if it actually hid who he was, covering himself in sin to mask his true self, displaying himself as a blood-soaked beast, was his resolution to shield himself from the people who wanted to hurt him, painting himself, drowning his skin, and shading it in dark crimson as if it were war paint. He squinted his eyes in disgust at the clammy sensation of another life's vitality embracing his visage. I am not afraid. Gripping an N24 tightly, he wasted no time blowing a hole into Gerson and Dominion heads, watching the enemies who would spiral around him, approaching him, fall with each shot that rang out in the dark space he found himself in. The last thing that they would see would be him. His body, his face, his hands, all tainted by blood, covered in the life of their comrades and friends. As they rushed in on him, he would show not a trace of hesitation or an ounce of fear as he annihilated them in the name of nausea. Soldiers? Civilians? It did not matter. Pronto's voice echoed in his head like an annoying alarm. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Hands off the trigger! We're not like them! He was right. Erdus isn't like them. He was better than all of them. Stronger, faster, tougher. Corpse collapsed into the dark void of the floor, fading away mere seconds after inscribing their deaths in an invisible ink so that no one would remember their legacies. Yet his onslaught passed when his sidearm stared down at a fellow Notion. With an arm unmoving, rigid from maintaining its chamber, fixed on the foreheads of the enemy he couldn't tear away, Aratus felt locked in place, denied the option of sparing his own. Every soldier is a murderer. His eyes darted to look towards his side as he slightly tilted his head. Another pair of hands took his wrist, digging their fingertips into his sleeve, while the other arm reached over him and took his other hand, bringing it up to the gun, encouraging a determined grip. The grass covered his wrists in red, watching in horror as the gruesome color traveled all across his arms like an infection, painting him the hue that identified him. Isn't that what you said? Aratus began to shake, his heart beating with haste. To tag his own? It was wrong, he knew it, but at the same time, did he really care? How will this random Notion who he has never met, never will know, nor care about, impact his mission? It's all the same, right? This Notion is no different from a Gershon or a Dominion, he will tell himself. The murderer's finger His finger curled around his own, invading his position on the trigger, taking the mantle, overriding his power of choice. With the lightest tap of pressure, the notion had expired with a single click. Aratus breathed out, releasing that contained oxygen that he held onto so greedily, allowing the actions attached to it to flee into the cold space around him. Another silhouette manifested from the darkness of the void. His arms slowly turned, to lock aim at the figure's head regardless of who they were. No hesitation, no second thoughts, every life brought him closer to Zoe. A flight of stairs, built up by the coagulation of gore that seeped from every corpse. With each step forward, another one backwards crumbled into the endless nothingness below him. He would not follow suit. Eratus would not look back to mourn the deaths of those who would individually support his crusade. They served the purpose, and he will give them a new one to complete the afterlife before they may find eternal respite. Eratus found himself running up this bleeding staircase, spirals of different reds twisting around the surface, as if writhing in breathless agony like they were the imprisoned souls of the deceased. The higher he climbed, the closer he came to reaching that door, the entrance to the place where it first began. His second chance, rebirth, redemption, revenge. Yes, it was finally in fruition. Eratus' steps hastened before he went full swing, clambering up the stairs recklessly, animalistically. He fell forward once or twice in his pursuit of ascension, refusing to fall as his legs dangled near the void, gravity threatening to take him with it. His endurance refused to be humiliated by the fragility of the dead, using his hands to claw into whatever he could get a grip on, hoisting himself back up, rushing all the way to the top until everything shattered. A single missing step stood between him and the door. Everything in his mind told him to jump, to take the risk, and go for it. He braced himself, preparing to take the leap, until the flight of stairs shifted, returning him to his realm of darkness. Floating upwards soft in the far distance for him to covet. Or covet. To covet. Oh god, I'm so bad pronouncing. Anyways, Eratus' final step stood right in front of him. That seal hood that had been standing there, waiting for him as if a supporter to his cause, wishing to help him in his time of need. Okay, cool. Eratus quickly pointed his pistol, ready to claim his final step and reach his zone. Eratus. Okay, hang on. Eratus quickly pointed his pistol, ready to claim his final step and reach Zoe. But his eyes widened and his finger moved off the trigger when he saw that face. It frowned at him, disappointed in his decline into insanity. The deterioration of his mind made clear by his own body the realm he found himself in proved that he was losing it, if that's how they wanted to put it. Eratus believed that he was the only sane one, putting the greatest stress to him, nausea at the top of the priority list, while he always had held his interests at the bottom. Yet he could do it. How could he? His hands began to shake, disrupting that soldier-like automation he practiced before. The gun fell to the floor with a clatter. He tried to stand up to reach the figure. He had to get the blood off of himself. He didn't want Pronto to seem like this, so deranged, soaking the blood of enemies and allies alike. Pronto could see how far he had allowed himself to go. An unseeable force forced him back down, placing the pistol back into his hands, clasped his palms around the grip and adjusting his arm downwards. Eratus shook his head violently. No, don't make me do it. I won't. No, don't make me do it. I won't. He screamed frantically, terrified at the lack of concern that the figure held for his own life that was at stake. You said you would do anything to kill me. His finger nestled over the trigger, an all too familiar feeling. But not him. Anything but him. A smile he could see burned into the back of his head. Isn't this for them, your fire team? Or have you forgotten about them? Tell me the truth. Name? This is about us, is it not? Eratus' shaking arms was steadied by his enemy's hands. He begged for it all to stop, leave the figure, who likely didn't even recognized him at this point, so disfigured by the carnage he surrounded himself in, deleting any trace of humanity to seize his own mission. But the man, the monster, what tangled motivation over his head. A sickening rouse. Though the figure, it was though it had to be. He saw those red eyes glaring at him through a dark mask, a mirror of his own. Something immediately came over him, washing away his hesitations, his emotions that made him Robloxian. What had he been so worried about when his priorities stood right in front of him? Boom! A victory that could not be celebrated for a moment suddenly morphed into a catastrophe. Pronto! Aratus threw the weapon to the side, rushing to reach Pronto, stumbling to the floor with unsteady footsteps. Why was his body getting further? God, he was bleeding so much. Where was it all going? Aratus ran faster than he ever had, his lungs searing in pain, pleading for him to stop. Once, his, once he finally reached Pronto's body, he fell to his knees, embracing his love with terrified eyes. Oh, what have I done? Desperate hands held the body close, absorbing the diminishing warmth of the corpse as the cold touch of death claimed it. Loretta's hand covered in blood. Oh, god damn it! I remember that again. Loretta's hands covered in blood began to contaminate Pronto's body. Loretta's gasped, placing Pronto down gently, wiping his hands on his torso to try and cleanse himself of the slur that clung on. No, 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 no. He panicked, watching as Pronto's color converting to a disgusting crimson shade, melting away with each inch of himself that was ruined by Aratus' undoing. Soon there was nothing left of him but blood. Without a second more to mourn, Aratus found himself kneeling before the final step that would bring him to the door he had worked so hard for to achieve. He slowly got up, his standing form swaying slightly from lightheadedness. He took one step forward, the step behind him crumbling, standing on Proto. His hand reached for the door knob, twisting it open without a word. A Russian man that he could recall stood there, donning the NSC uniform, hiding his face with a black balaclava, wearing a blue fighting armband. He stared. The soldier unholstered a gun. He would do the same. The soldier brought the pistol up to the side of his head. He will do the same. Placing his finger on the trigger, a shift could be seen in the soldier's eyes. He would do the same. And then he felt a smile curve onto his lips as a gunshot rang out, and the corpse of a Dominion fell to the dark pit of endlessness, never to be seen again. What the hell have I read?